All right, let's shift the discussion here a little bit to the Cincinnati Bengals. That's obviously a really important game for the Cincinnati Bengals here tonight on the road against the Denver Broncos, 7.5-point underdogs. And let's go through some keys to victory as we typically do before the Bengals play a game. And key to victory number one for me is start fast, right? And you might be saying, "Oh, that's cliche. You could say that each and every week." Well, with a backup quarterback on the road, primetime game, it's really, really important to start fast in this football game. Does that mean necessarily scoring a touchdown the first time you get the ball? No, not necessarily, but it means having some productive offensive plays, picking up a first down or two the first time your offense has the ball, right? It's all on script there at that point, so it should be, a spot where you're Zach Taylor, where you can do some positive things and, move the football down the football field a little bit, all right? Defensively, they're going to have to play well. Bo Nix, you're a little bit worried in this spot because he hasn't played very well this year, and it kind of just feels like it's only a matter of time before he has a breakout performance this year. I think Bo Nix is a good NFL quarterback, and I think he's going to be just fine in his career with Sean Payton at the helm, and I think he's going to be just fine this season as well. But at some point, he's going to break out. Obviously, you're hoping it's not tonight if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, but getting a stop if you're on the field defensively, right, or holding them to a field goal. Those types of things can build some positive momentum for you. Right? You don't have Joe Burrow to save you, and I know we've said that a million times here on the show. But if you find yourself in a big hole late in the game, Jake Browning has proven that he can play winning football, but if you're behind on the road late, the crowd's really into it, you're probably in a bad spot. Have to find a way to start fast in this football game. Also, I want to see some creative adjustments in the run game. That's key to victory number two, right? There's a lot of people nationally that now have built this narrative where they have the mindset of, oh, Chase Brown's not a good running back. And obviously, look, I get it. Nationally, it's hard to know exactly what's going on with every single team. But anybody locally that follows the Cincinnati Bengals understands that Chase Brown is a really, really good player. And he can be a really, really good player. And he was a really, really good player for you last year. Reed mentioned the stat on off the bench, how often he is getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, that's just, as a running back, there's only so much you can do at that point if you're consistently getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. Even if you can make the first guy miss, then you got two other guys waiting for you right at the line of scrimmage. And it's just really tough sledding there at that point. So I want to see some creative adjustments. I don't want to see this, oh, we'll just get under center and we'll turn around and hand the ball off, we'll run it right up the middle, and we'll hope that can finally work. Because clearly that has not worked. Whether it's motions, right, shifts that you got to do along, your offense, right, jet sweeps, I don't know. Right, screen game, that's something that Jake Browning in 23 was really good at, getting the screen game going more, right? The screen game obviously can just be an extension of your run game, getting the ball to Chase Brown in the backfield, getting it to him in space, right? You have to find a way to integrate him into the game. And sitting there, turning around, handing it off, and letting him run up the middle and lose a yard or just get to the line of scrimmage is obviously not cutting it. Nobody's running the football worse than the Cincinnati Bengals in the National Football League. Candidly, it is not close, and there has to be improvements in that tonight. Now, it's a really good Denver defense. I don't even know if it's possible if Cincinnati can sit there and run for, 150 plus yards. I don't even know if that's a possibility, but it has to take a step in the right direction, and it has to be something that is at least a threat. Now, I get you got behind quickly against Minnesota, and you kind of had to, move off it, right? Can't afford to put yourself in that situation here against the Denver Broncos. All right. Does it mean you're always running on first down? Well, Romo was saying all week last week that they need to throw it on first down and then run it in second down. And he was right, because clearly they kept running it on first down and it wasn't working. All right. I don't know when you got to run it, how often you got to run it, but you have to show the ability to at least threaten in the run game. Because if you make this Bengals offense one-dimensional with Jake Browning, you're in trouble and you're cooked. You make this Bengals offense one-dimensional with Joe Burrow, you have a chance. But we've talked about it on the show. This isn't, a low-end starter coming in or a middle-of-the-road starter coming in. No, it's a backup quarterback. That's just the reality of the situation, and it's a team that is so Joe Burrow-reliant and Joe Burrow-dependent, and when he's taken away, it looks totally different. I don't care that you have Jamar Chase. I don't care that you have T. Higgins. That's all great, but without Joe Burrow, it looks totally different offensively, and the Bengals are going to have to be better around Jake Browning in order for them to have some success in this football game. Key to victory number 3. Got to win the special teams battle. McPherson's been solid this year, but he really hasn't been asked to do a ton when you break down those 3 games, right? Has he ever been in a spot where it's like, oh, you're holding your breath, it's a huge kick, he's got to deliver? No. All right, but if the Bengals are picking up some first downs, getting it into Denver territory, and putting McPherson in a spot where he can kick some long field goals, and he makes them, that can put them in a really good spot in this football game as well. Because against this Denver Broncos defense, you're not necessarily always going to score a ton of touchdowns. Jake Browning's got to find a way to get the ball into Denver territory, and, obviously Mile High, the ball travels really far there. McPherson's proven he can bang some long field goals. You put him in a spot where he can help your team win, he's got to execute. The Bengals have to be really, really good on special teams. And they haven't always been good on special teams this year. I'm talking in the punt game, I'm talking in the return game, and I'm obviously talking in the kicking game with Evan McPherson. If he can have one of those kind of OG Evan McPherson performances, that certainly could help the Cincinnati Bengals win this game. Obviously, in a perfect world, you're hoping he's kicking extra points and not field goals. But against this Denver defense, considering what this offense has looked like with Jake Browning and even what it looked like without Jake Browning, you don't necessarily feel confident that is going to happen. And usually in the NFL, if you're playing a team and you're like, oh, we want to kick field goals, well, that's a recipe for disaster. But in this situation with the backup quarterback, if you can find a way to get 3 points on the board, that can really, really help you in this game, especially with an offense in Denver that has been sputtering a bit to this point. It could be very beneficial for you. Evan McPherson's got to have a big game, and he can't afford to miss any kicks in this game for the Cincinnati Bengals. I would also like to see them use the middle of the field more in the passing game. Now, that could be tough against a linebacker like Benito, who Denver has and is one of the best linebackers in the National Football League. But when you look at what they've done, they haven't used the middle of the field enough, especially with Jake Browning. T. Higgins is a guy that can go over there and be a big-time target for you in hauling catches in traffic. You haven't used T. Higgins at all this year. So kind of piggybacking off of that, I want you to use the middle of the field more in the passing game, but I also want you to integrate T. Higgins into more what you're doing as well. You paid him top-of-the-line money as a wide receiver. Your philosophy this offseason was, we got Joe Burrow, and we're going to surround him with two studs, and we're going to do that for the foreseeable future. Well, you got to find ways to give him the ball. And I get it's Jake Browning and not Joe Burrow, but T. Higgins has to find ways to get his hands on the football. Because if you're going to pay him all that money and not use him, then what in the world are you doing? All right, does that mean forcing it to him? No, not necessarily. But when you have Higgins and you have Chase, you have to find a way to get them the football. T. Higgins is a really, really good player, and he hasn't done a darn thing this season for Cincinnati. Got to find ways to get him the football. Obviously, he had a massive game the last time you played Denver at home, right? One of the most exciting games of the season, the second to last game last year for Cincinnati. He was awesome. With Joe Burrow, he's had success against the Denver Broncos in the past. Obviously, find ways to give him the football. All right, he's a big dude, big frame, big hands, sure-handed guy there as well. And you got to find ways to give him an opportunity to help impact the game offensively for you, because obviously he has not done that at all this year for the Cincinnati Bengals. And lastly, key to victory number 5, got to show some heart in this football game. Usually teams in the NFL, after they get embarrassed, they respond well the next week. You saw it again yesterday. Atlanta got blanked, I think 30-0 against Carolina. What did they do? They responded and beat the Washington Commanders, played really well, and won yesterday. That usually happens in the NFL. And Zach Taylor's teams, as we've talked about in the show, have shown that they don't quit. They don't. The first time I've ever seen this team quit was the second half in Minneapolis last week. I've never seen that ever happen apart from last week. Now, if you're a head coach, you don't want to get into that pattern. Because if your team quits on you more than once or twice, there's a good chance you're gone. All right, now I don't anticipate this team quitting on Zach Taylor. I really don't. But they got to show some fight in this game. They got to show, it's Monday Night Football. They're on the road. They're a huge underdog. 7.5's a massive spread in the National Football League. I'm expecting them to come out with their hair on fire and run around and try to hit somebody and make some plays. Try to turn the football over defensively and try to do some good things on offense. Have some explosive plays, find ways to score points against Denver. That's what I'm expecting. We'll see. Because if they don't, then it could be a real time where you're really in a dire situation if you're the Cincinnati Bengals. You're 2-1, right? You got everything in front of you at this point. Joe Burrow, by the way, made a post the other day, and I believe the post said, this game will break your heart. And see you soon. And that the see you soon part is the part that got me fired up. Because I always, said, with Joe Burrow, guys like Iron Man, but at some point you got to crack, right? And just be, frustrated and maybe not respond the same way as maybe you had responded in the past when you got hurt. But he said see you soon on the post. That honestly got me a little bit fired up. All right, and that told me that, shoot, if this Bengals team can hang around, he'll show up for them and try to get back and help them win meaningful football games late. So I think that certainly is a very, very positive thing. But as it relates to Zach Taylor, his team needs to show up. They need to show up quickly, right? Lots of eyeballs going to be on this game. Obviously, there's another Monday night game with the Dolphins and the Jets. But, for the most part, everybody in the country is going to be tapped in to this game for the Cincinnati Bengals. And we'll see how they perform. I'm expecting them to show a lot of heart in this game. I'm expecting them to start fast. Does that mean scoring points necessarily right away? I don't know. We'll see. But I'm expecting them to bounce back and play a lot better than they did last week and look like a competent football team. The Ravens lost. The Ravens are 1-3. As I said at the top of the show, there's always a team or two where everybody nationally says, oh, yeah, they're 100% going to make the playoffs, and then they don't make the playoffs. Am I suggesting that's Baltimore? Not necessarily going to say that, all right, because we know what they're capable of. But at this point, you're 1-3. The numbers are what the numbers are. Teams that start 1-3 typically do not make the playoffs, and we'll see if Baltimore is able to bounce back. But a couple of stats as it relates to this Denver defense. The Broncos are tied. This was before the Rams played yesterday, so this was going into the NFL slate of games yesterday. The Broncos were tied with the Rams for the most sacks in the NFL with 12 and lead the league in pressures with 63. Obviously, that's going to play a big part in this game, especially considering what this Bengals offensive line has looked like over the course of 3 weeks. Jake Browning, another key. It wasn't in one of our keys to victory here, but another huge thing for Jake Browning will be making sure that he isn't throwing the football to the other team, right? His bad plays need to be incompletions because if they're interceptions, team's cooked. If he's throwing the football to the other team, the Bengals are not good enough here with a backup quarterback and all the issues that they have on this team where they can overcome those types of turnovers. Now, obviously, all the turnovers haven't been his fault. Big fumbling issue last week, not his fault. But some of the interceptions are careless, they're reckless, and they flat out can't happen if Cincinnati is going to have success in this football game. He's going to be under siege tonight. He's going to get hit tonight. He needs to get the ball out and throw it out of bounds. He needs to find the easy completion, get to the check down, right? Because this Denver front is coming after him, and they're really, really good with what they can do defensively. Some guys that are really underrated. Zach Allen, he doesn't get enough credit. Zach Allen is really good at rushing the passer, and I'll be shocked if he doesn't have a sack tonight. DJ Jones at that nose tackle spot. Really, really good. By the way, he was a guy that was available in free agency that you could have went after, but you opted to keep B.J. Hill. Jonathan Cooper at that linebacker spot there with Benito. Those two guys are the real deal. And, oh, by the way, we haven't even mentioned the reigning Defensive Player of the Year in Patrick Surtain. Now, Jamar's proven that can have success against him in the past, both in college and at the professional level. But, if things aren't going well, trying to get the ball to number 1, number 5 obviously has to show up. Interested to see what Surtain can do in this game because great cover guy, but he's a ball hawk as well, and he'll pick you off if you give him the opportunity. Jake Browning has to be really, really careful when it comes to targeting him. And obviously Hufanga, the safety, coming in from San Francisco in free agency. He's a really, really solid player, and he'll pick you off too, and he'll hit you hard as well. So this Bengals offense has their work cut out for them against all the pressure that Denver is able to create. Last week, the Broncos hit Justin Herbert 14 times and sacked him 5 times. And the Chargers, they're a really good team. Obviously, they lost and were upset by Jackson Dart and the Giants yesterday on the road in New York. But that's an offensive line for Los Angeles that is a lot better than what you have right here in Cincinnati, and that still gave up 14 quarterback hits and 5 sacks in the game. So Browning's got to have to get the ball out of his hands quickly in this one, and the Bengals are going to have some answers for what they do defensively, Vance Joseph and that Denver defense, because they're really, really good, and it's going to be a tough test. Certainly an uphill battle for Cincinnati tonight, but I'm expecting them to respond in a big way. Am I going to go out there and say they're going to win the football game? I'm not confident enough saying that, but I think it'll be a one-possession game. And they'll have opportunities to win the football game, whether it be capitalizing off a turnover, whether it be executing in a goal line situation, 1st and goal from the 1 and finding a way to get it in. Even with Joe Burrow last year, you really struggled in those short yardage situations. Got to be good in the short yardage here tonight. I think it's a one-score game, kind of a go either way game, and we'll see. Because if you win this game, you're right back in the driver's seat. I get Pittsburgh one as well, but with what's transpiring with the Baltimore Ravens, you're right back in the driver's seat if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, if you can win this game. So I think it'll be close. I think they'll respond, and certainly looking forward to talking about it tomorrow on the show.